Hey, everybody, it's Alfred Parsart Jr. back with another Metropolitan report. And before we begin today's report, just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this channel, if you're watching on YouTube and you enjoy this podcast, or you're a Mets fan, or you just like sports talk in general, go down below and hit the subscribe button. That way, every time that there's a new video on the channel, you're the first one to know and you'll be notified. Sound off in the comments whether you agree with my takes, disagree with my takes, or maybe I skipped over something that you want to talk about. So feel free to sound off in the comments. For those of you who are on Facebook, hello. Glad to see you. Thank you for joining me, and let's talk some Mets baseball. So, with the pleasantries out of the way, it is the final weekend of the season, and we're going to go over all of the playoffs in the National League and everything that affects the Mets. As you know, this is the final weekend of the season. The Mets just won a series against the Chicago Cubs. So now it's on to Miami for the final weekend of the season. Will not be an easy task whatsoever because the Miami Marlins always seem to play the Mets tough. But let's break some things down, shall we? So, in the National League, the best record goes to the Milwaukee Brewers. They are 96-63. They have clinched the National League Central. The Philadelphia Phillies have clinched the National League East, 94-65. The Los Angeles Dodgers have clinched a playoff spot, but have not clinched a West just yet. They're 90-69. The Chicago Cubs currently in the first wild card spot. They've clinched a playoff spot, but have not clinched that berth yet, 89-70. The San Diego Padres have clinched a postseason spot, but have not solidified themselves just yet as the second wild card. But they are guaranteed in, just like the Cubs are, no matter what happens the rest of the way. They're 87-72. And then wide open is the final wild card spot, currently occupied by the New York Mets. They are 82-77. The Cincinnati Reds are trailing them by one game, 81-78. And the Diamondbacks are trailing by two games, 80-79. All other teams in the National League are mathematically eliminated. Every team in the majors currently has 3 games left. So anybody else that's not the Reds or the Diamondbacks, mathematically eliminated. So let's go on and get to all the possible scenarios and how things affect the Mets. So the New York Mets won their series against the Chicago Cubs this past weekend. This past weekend. They're playing Miami this upcoming weekend. They won against the Cubs this week. They played them Tuesday, Wednesday, and yesterday. They won Tuesday and yesterday. They lost on Wednesday, but they were helped out by the fact that the Cincinnati Reds lost their series to the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. Thank you, Pittsburgh. Greatly appreciate you. And the Arizona Diamondbacks were pummeled by the Dodgers each of the last 2 nights to fall to 2 games below the Mets in the wild card standings. So the Mets obviously playing the Marlins. The Marlins, they can't catch anybody in this race. They're 5 games out. It's amazing that a team that's in rebuilding mode all of a sudden in the second half became competitive to the point where they're at the last weekend of the season. They're 5 games out of a wild card. Again, 3 games left. You're not going to catch anybody, but kudos to them for staying competitive in the second half when their season was already over. But here's what's going on. The Cincinnati Reds this weekend are playing a series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, why does this matter? Some people would think, oh, the Brewers, they've clinched the Central already. They have nothing to play for. They'll roll over and not even compete against the Reds. That is an incorrect train of thought because, the Milwaukee Brewers are 96-63, 2 games above the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 94-65. What does that matter? People are saying they both have first-round buys. What does it matter? The Brewers are playing for seeding. Let's say the Reds sweep them and the Phillies win out the rest of the way this weekend. The Phillies, of course, playing the Minnesota Twins this weekend. But let's just say that all of that happens. The Phillies would catch the Brewers, take over first, and the Brewers don't want that because even though both teams have first-round byes, your seeding determines your opponent. So Milwaukee trying to clinch to get the home field advantage and to play the lowest possible seed because they are the first seed. So if the playoffs ended today, if the season ended today, I'm excited with all of these possibilities. But if the season ended today, ladies and gentlemen, the Brewers would be playing the winner of the Mets-Dodgers series. The Phillies would play the winner of the Cubs-Padres series. Obviously, the higher seed wants to play the lower seed, so Milwaukee wants to maintain that lead. Now, if you're a Mets fan, you're going to be rooting for the Brewers this weekend. The Arizona Diamondbacks, they're 2 games out. The Diamondbacks, again, lost a series to the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks are playing the Padres this weekend, and if you're a Mets fan, you're rooting for the Padres because, again, the Padres have clinched a playoff spot. People are thinking, well, why would the Padres care to win that series? Easy. As I said before, the Padres are 2 games behind the Cubs in the wild card standing. So, yes, while the Padres have already clinched, it matters because if the Padres can overtake the Cubs, granted, no matter what happens, the Padres and the Cubs are going to meet in the first round of the playoffs. But if the Padres overtake the Cubs, that series gets hosted in Petco Park. If the Cubs remain on top of the Padres in the standings, that series will take place in Wrigley. For those of you who are unaware, in the wild card round of the MLB playoffs, the lower seed does not get a home game. It's a best of 3 series, and if the series goes all 3 games are in the stadium of the higher seed. So the Padres and the Cubs both want that home field advantage. They'll be sure to try and lock up that first wild card spot. As of right now, the Cubs are playing the Cardinals. They are leading in that game. So the Cardinals, again, nothing to play for. At this point, they're mathematically eliminated. So that's that. So how does this affect the Mets, you may ask? Well, here are the scenarios of how the Mets can clinch while we're doing the math. Now, if the Mets sweep the Marlins, they're in no matter what the Reds and the Diamondbacks do. Due to tiebreaker math, things get a bit tricky. If somehow the Reds or the Diamondbacks, either team ends up tied with the Mets, both of those teams hold the tiebreaker over the Mets. So if the Mets end up tied with them, they automatically lose. There will be no playoffs. So the Mets control their own destiny. All you got to do is just win and you're in. If the Mets go 2-1 in this 3-game stretch, that would make them 84-78. They would clinch in that scenario if the Reds go 2-1 or worse. The Diamondbacks would be eliminated, however, in that scenario, no matter what happens, as the best they can do is 83-79. So if the Mets go 2-1, automatically the Diamondbacks are out. If the Reds go 2-1, the Diamondbacks are automatically out. If the Mets go 1-2, they would need the Reds to go 1-2 or worse, and the Diamondbacks to win no more than 2 games in their series against the Padres. And God forbid, if the Mets get swept by the Marlins, they can still sneak in if the Reds also get swept by the Brewers and the Diamondbacks go 1-2 or worse. So, again, the Mets control their own destiny for the most part. Again, if the Mets sweep the Marlins, they're in no matter what happens. If the Mets go 2-1, they would have to hope that the Reds at least drop 1 game in that series to the Brewers. And if the Mets get swept, they would need the Reds to get swept as well, and the Diamondbacks cannot win more than one game against the Padres. So you see here the Mets controlling their own destiny, as we have said before. This is the Mets playoff spot to lose. I foresee the Mets going 2-1. I also foresee the Reds going 1-2 against the Brewers. The Reds have not been playing good baseball. They just came off of a series loss to the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't see them taking the best team in baseball in a series 2-1. I do think the Mets will be okay, but again, Miami will always play the Mets tough. I did like what I saw out of this Mets team in Chicago. Let's just talk about that series real quick. This Mets team was tremendous. They showed that they wanted it. If you look at Tuesday's game, the Mets were down 6-1, and they managed to come back to win 9-7. That was an amazing game. If we look at the numbers, Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Alvarez all hit home runs. Three RBIs by Lindor, 3 by Nimmo, 2 by Alvarez, and Pete Alonso chipped in with an RBI as well. The pitching, a lot to be desired. We talked about it in a video yesterday. David Peterson and his dead arm. Peterson only went 1 1/3 innings in that game on Tuesday. Allowed 5 runs on 5 hits, 1 strikeout to 2 walks. Horrible performance, but the bullpen was, for the most part, good. Only Gregory Soto in the bullpen allowed a run. The Mets used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullpen arms in that game Tuesday to get the job done, but they got the job done nonetheless. The game that scared everybody was on Wednesday when this Mets team took a horrible loss to the Cubs by a score of 10-3. Only good thing coming out of that was the Juan Soto home run. But a horrible, horrible loss that time out. Did not like what I saw there at all. The Mets got pummeled, looking like the Mets of old. The pitching also left a lot to be desired, as Jonah Tong, the rookie, he's just not major league ready, folks. I'm sorry. I know we did the vlog of his first successful start, but any pitcher would win when your team scores 19 runs against the opposition. And to start the game, you had a 6-run lead in the first inning. By the time the second inning was over, it was 12-0. But Tong got lit up, human pinata style, 5 runs on 7 hits in 2 innings. It was just ugly. Sean Manaea, another bad outing, 1 inning pitched, gave up 2 runs in that inning. But the Mets bounced back in a major way because yesterday's win was very, very monumental. A statement win and a series win against the Cubs. Again, the Cubs hold the first wild card spot as we speak. They're playing the Cardinals right now. But this Mets team yesterday, we saw home runs from Brett Beatty and Francisco Lindor. And let's talk about this lineup. Lindor, Soto, Alonso. This is the first time in Mets history where they have 3 players on the roster who have hit 30 or more home runs. Of course, Lindor has 30. Juan Soto, well over 30. Juan Soto with 43. And Pete Alonso also over 30. He has 37. So 30, 37, 43. First time in Mets history that they have 3 30 home run plus guys in a season. So that shows you the power that the top of this lineup has. And then also with his home run, with his 30th home run of the year, Francisco Lindor joins Juan Soto in the 30-30 club this season. Of course, Lindor 30-30, reaching 30-30 yesterday. This is Lindor's second time in the 30-30 club as a Met. Howard Johnson, Hojo, part of the 1986 World Series team. He before this season Hojo was a fixture in that 30-30 club. But again, Juan Soto and Lindor, two Mets both in 30-30 this year. The last time that the Mets had two 30-30 guys on the same roster, 1987, when Hojo and Darryl Strawberry both went 30-30 in the same year. And only the third pair of teammates to do it in the same season, 1987, of course, Hojo and Darryl Strawberry. And on the Rockies in 1996, Dante Bichette and Ellis Burks. So this is a feat that's only been done 3 times, folks. And the Mets in MLB history have done it twice. Shout out to Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, both 30-30. And again, first time in franchise history, the Mets have 3 players with 30 home runs or more. That's monumental. For people who said that this Mets lineup, at least the top of it, is not dangerous, you got to be out of your mind. Let's look at the production real quick before we get back to the playoff talk. Francisco Lindor, again, joins the 30-30 club. And as of right now, coming into today, batting .267, 30 home runs, 84 RBI, 31 stolen bases, OPS of 805. I know he won't get to 100 stakes on the season. Stakes are RBIs, ribeyes, if you get it. But a solid season from the franchise nonetheless, especially fitting first-time All-Star as a Met. Soto, .265 average, 43 home runs, 105 RBIs, 36 stolen bases, OPS of 927. The man was an all-star snub. I don't understand how. If Shohei Ohtani didn't exist, we're probably looking at our NL MVP this season. Great season out of Juan Soto. I remember back in May, the Michael K's of the world, the guys on the fan, all the Yankee fans, they all said that Soto was having a down year this year. Does that look like a down year? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Soto, first time in his career, more than 12 stolen bases. He does it with the Mets. First time in 30-30, does it with the Mets. Career year, his career high in home runs is this season. Prior to this season, his home run career high was last year with the Yankees. He hit 41, and then he had a short porch to work with. Didn't have a short porch this season and still clubbed 2 more home runs and counting, because who knows what they'll do in Miami this season. And then, of course, the polar bear, Pete Alonso, just tremendous season. Pete with a career high in average, 271. The last time he hit anywhere close to 271 was 2022. He actually finished with 271, so he's matching his career high right now. That could go up or down depending on what happens this weekend in Miami. But Pete Alonso batting .271, 37 home runs, 123 RBIs, 866 OPS. So this Mets lineup is by far powerful. And I'm very impressed with what the core of this team, Soto, Alonso, and Lindor have done. And an honorable mention goes to Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo, career high in both home runs and RBIs this season. He's got 25 home runs, 92 RBIs. Brandon Nimmo, really solid season this season. Those 4 are the core of this team. They have carried this team tremendously, especially for a team all year where the bottom of the order struggles to hit. It's just a testament to these guys how far that they've put the franchise on their back. Got to give a big shout out also to the rookie Nolan McLean, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. Only 8 major league starts in his career, but he is the ace of this pitching staff. Not David Peterson with his all-star berth, not Kodai Senga, who's the highest paid starter on the roster. It's Nolan McLean. This kid wants to win. He wants to win bad. And I know I've said it before, but to hang your postseason hopes on the shoulders of 3 kids, McLean, Tong, and Sproat, And unlike Tong, who has struggled, and Sproat has had bad luck. He's pitched really well. Just the team couldn't pick him up to get him a win. He's currently 0-1 on the season. But McLean has shown up and shown out big time, pitching with poise as if he's a veteran. Nolan McLean, really, really good stuff here. If you look at him on the year, 5-1 in 8 games, 2.06 ERA, 57 Ks in 48 innings. Had another solid outing last night. Carlos Mendoza, again, big. We said it in the last report. Biggest issue as a manager, leaving a pitcher in too long. McLean gave up 5 runs, 2 home runs going to Seiya Suzuki, a 3-run homer and a solo homer. But the second home run, McLean should have been out of the game. By that point, he was already over 90 pitches. But again, another solid outing from McLean. McLean, of course, last night in that game against the Cubs, 5 1/3 innings, 5 runs on 5 hits. He walked 2, but he struck out 11. This kid, Nolan McLean, he pitches with poise. You would have thought he was a big league veteran. It was just about 2 months ago the kid was pitching in front of a couple hundred people in Syracuse, and now he's become like a savior of sorts for the Mets. But I've been very impressed with what Nolan McLean has brought to the table. It's just a real shame that he came on so late in the season that he's not going to be eligible for a Rookie of the Year award. I do believe since if McLean won't pitch the rest of this season because there's only 3 games left. In order to lose your rookie eligibility, you would have had to have pitched 50 innings. So he will be eligible for a Rookie of the Year consideration next season since his innings count did not go over 50 this season. Then we look at a guy like Jonah Tong. Jonah Tong, I know there was hype around him. I know I did that vlog where I went to Citi Field for his first start against the Marlins, which he won. Anybody's going to win when your team scores 19 runs, and 12 of the 19 were scored in the first 2 innings. But Jonah Tong, I don't think he's major league ready. 5 major league starts, 2-3 with a 7.71 ERA. Again, to put this much pressure on a kid, it's just not fair. He's 22 years old. He was only called up out of necessity. In my opinion, he should not have been called up over Sproat. I think there was hype around him because he was the minor league leader in strikeouts this season, but the minors and the majors, 2 different levels of competition. Tong got lit up like a human piñata last night. Only went 2 innings, 5 runs on 7 hits, 1 strikeout to 2 walks. The strikeout prowess that he had in Binghamton and Syracuse, just not translating to the major league level. Depending on what moves the Mets make in the offseason, I don't think Tong starts the year on the major league roster, but I could be wrong. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then Brandon Sproat. Brandon Sproat, again, has been good, just been unfortunate in games he's pitched in. The offense has not shown up. 3 games started, 0-1, 3.94 ERA. He's pitched 16 innings, 15 strikeouts. We look at the game logs. September 7th in his debut against Cincinnati, he goes 6 innings, takes the loss, 3 runs, 3 hits, a quality start, 7 Ks, 4 walks. Against Texas a week later, goes 6 innings of no-run baseball, 6 hits, no runs, no walks, 3 Ks. And then against Washington on September 19th, goes 4 innings, his worst start of the season. 4 runs on 4 hits, but 5 strikeouts to 2 walks. But Sproat has looked good, and Sproat's going on tonight in a couple of hours up against Sandy Alcantara of the Marlins. So that'll be interesting there. But this Mets team, again, controls their own destiny. This New York Mets club, again, sweeping you're in. If the Mets go 2-1, as long as the Reds can win that Brewers series, but as long as they don't sweep the Brewers, which I don't foresee happening, the Brewers, even if they lose that series, they're not going down 3 in a row. So if the Mets go 2-1, As long as the Reds go 2-1, they're good. If the Mets go 1-2, they would need the Reds to go 1-2. And if they get swept, they need the Reds to get swept, and hopefully the Diamondbacks don't win 2 games. I don't foresee the Diamondbacks catching the Mets. Again, I don't foresee the Reds winning this series, and I think that the Mets can beat the Marlins in a series. Let's go to the pitching matchups for this pivotal series against the Marlins. Like I said, tonight, Brandon Sproat is taking the hill for this Mets team. He's 0-1, 3.94 ERA, like we said, up against former Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara in his first full season back from Tommy John surgery, 10-12 with a 5.48 ERA. Then tomorrow, the Mets have not named a starter, but whoever that is going to go up against Yuri Perez, who in Jonah Tong's first start of his career faced Yuri Perez, and Yuri didn't even make it out of the first inning of that start. Yuri is 7-5 with a 4.20 ERA. The Mets usually beat up on Yuri. And then again, on Sunday, the finale, 3:10 p.m., the Mets have not announced a starter, but whoever it is will go up against Edward Cabrera, who's 7-7, 3.66 ERA. Again, like I've maintained, I do not see the Mets losing this series. I think they take 2 or 3. I think they drop tonight and they take Saturday and Sunday. I could be wrong, but I 100% am confident that the Mets are going to win this series. A little injury update before we get out of here. Tyler McGill, who has been gone for a long time. Tyler McGill, who has been in the Mets rotation since 2021. Not good news at all. He is going to miss all of the 2026 season. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. The last time he was on a major league mound was June 14th. So again, Tyler McGill going to have off-season Tommy John. He will be out for all of 2026. We wish him well with the surgery, and we hope that he makes a great recovery to come back to pitch for the Mets in 2027. Tyler McGill's final numbers for this season: 14 starts, 5-5 with a 3.95 ERA, 89 strikeouts in 68 in the third innings. Tyler McGill again going to miss the 2026 season. That really, again, depending on what happens in the offseason, who the Mets go after, whether it's in free agency or a trade, this could adversely affect the Mets or not affect them at all. But a lot of moving parts that we'll get to in the offseason, but we wish Tyler McGill well. Before we get out of here, I got to give my opinion on something. Major League Baseball announced that they are implementing the ABS, the automatic ball and strike system, for the 2026 season. They experimented with it in spring training this year. They utilized it in the All-Star game this season. Edwin Diaz used it in the All-Star game this season. And we spoke about it during our spring training coverage. And basically, how the ABS system works, folks, if a pitch is thrown and either the pitcher, the catcher, or the batter think that a strike was called a ball or a ball was called a strike, they can challenge it. If they win the challenge, they retain. And obviously, it's reversed. And back in February, when they said they were going to utilize this in spring training, I was against it. But now, after having time to think about things and see how this season has played out, I'm all for the ABS system. And let me tell you why. There have been many games that have been affected by bad calls this season, too many to name certain instances. And there have been some games where the game has ended where a strike was called when it should have been a ball, batter didn't swing. Especially when you have situations, and it's happened to the Mets several times. Happened last Saturday against the Nationals. Juan Soto didn't swing, and that pitch looked like a ball, and it was called a strike. Game over. I understand that human error is part of the game. We see it in every sport. In the NBA, how many times do you hear that the officials missed a call, whether it's a foul, a travel, out of bounds, and the NBA will come out the next morning after the game's taken place and say that a foul should have been called after, or a travel did occur. In the NFL, sometimes there's a hold or a pass interference should have been called, and there's no flag. In MLB, there are strikes that get called balls and balls that get called strikes, and a lot of those missed calls are very egregious. Now, managers cannot, and nobody in the dugout, anybody on the field other than the pitcher and catcher cannot challenge. Batter cannot challenge. Some people say this undermines the umpires, but these umpires need to be undermined from time to time because you got guys who are notorious like C.B. Buckner, Angel Hernandez, and I hate to pick on a woman here, but Jen Powell, I don't know what strike zone she's established or what she's looking at, but I know she just got called up a couple months back, but she has an egregious strike zone. So I do believe that it's in the best fairness of the game to have the robo umps. Again, it's not completely taking away the human element because on the base paths, we can still get safe calls that should have been outs and vice versa. But I do like the fact that everything is challengeable. Games should not be decided due to egregious calls or due to an umpire having the smallest strike zone or the largest strike zone in the world. So a lot less contention between players and officials are going to take place. We've seen Jeff McNeil several times this season yell violently at umpires when he didn't swing and took a pitch and he thought it was a ball. The whole stadium thought it was a ball, and they got called strike 3, and he's been tossed for yelling. And then Mendy's got to come out and defend him, and he gets tossed. So a lot of ejections are no longer going to take place. It's better for the game overall. And again, especially in a series, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Mets fan and I'm looking at this very impartially. But I would hate for one of these Mets-Marlins games this weekend that's going to decide this if the Mets continue past this weekend to be called on a bad strike 3 or a bad ball 4. And it screws a team out of playoff contention. I don't wish it on the Reds or the Brewers either, or any other team for that matter. So go ahead. I mean, if umpiring wasn't this egregious as it's been this season, my tune wouldn't have changed from spring training. But with what I've seen this season, we definitely need the ABS. And if it wasn't a problem, now granted, Rob Manfred has done a lot of boneheaded things when it comes to rule changes lately. DH in the National League, extra runner on second base to start extra innings, the ghost runner rule. So he's done a lot of boneheaded things to affect the game. But this, I'm going to go ahead and agree because, again, we got to get these calls right. Wins and losses matter, especially down there. I mean, they always matter from late March all the way to the end of September. But this is when they really matter, and I think MLB's got it right this go-around. Can't have important games or any game that counts in the regular season called because of a bad strike zone, you know. And it's crazy to me because the amount of training these umpires go through and the minor league grind they have to go through, you would think they would get it right. In order to become a major league umpire, you have to go through several umpire camps. You can look it up. It's public knowledge. And with all the training and all the on-the-job training and all the teaching and preparation they do, and they still can't get it right, no, you deserve to be undermined. And I'm all for it. But folks, It's come that time. The Mets and Marlins, they're going to get underway in just about an hour and some change. Just looking at the scoreboard for the Cubs and Cardinals game. The Cubs currently playing the Cardinals as we speak, and they are still in the lead on the Cardinals. Again, they're trying to fend off the Padres, who play the Diamondbacks, so they can help the Mets. And again, the Brewers trying to hold on to that first spot and not let the Phillies get it, so they have an incentive to beat the Reds. And again, the Mets, you win 2-1, and as long as the Reds don't sweep the Brewers, you're in. You sweep the Marlins, you're in no matter what. 1-2 is a bit murky, and a sweep by the Marlins, all hell breaks loose. But folks, we've reached the end of this Metropolitan Report. I'm going to bring you content throughout the weekend, and depending on what happens this weekend, that determines what type of show we're going to have Monday. Either we're looking ahead to the playoffs, or I'm recapping the season. But either way, I'll see you Monday afternoon. I'm Alfred Parsard Jr. This has been the Metropolitan Report, and remember, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. You'll be the first ones to know when new content comes up on the channel. If you're watching on Facebook Live, hit that follow button, and you'll be notified as well. I said everything there is left to say. I'll be rooting for the Brewers and the Padres this weekend. And the only thing left to say is, let's go Mets. I'll see you Monday.